Hello, everybody. Welcome to the We Run With It podcast, hosted by Tim Murphy, Instagram handle at We Run With It. And also, as you'll see in the picture, the co-host Axel Murphy, the yellow lab who does unfortunately not like to run too much. So we try and get some hikes in together. Anyways, the point of this one, it's not really episode 1 per se. It's more of an introductory into what the podcast is going to be and get some guests on here that are in the health and fitness field, and also just anyone else that aligns with the mentality and, you know, what the podcast is going to stand for. So going off that, I mean, I guess I kind of wanted to share, or over the course of the podcast, I should say, share how running's affected me. Over the past year, I've gotten into it more in the sense of training more competitively. And, I did 2 marathons this year, a 50K and then a 50-miler. And each one presented itself, it's different hardships, but also they were each unique in their own way. And, the first marathon I did, I've done a few half marathons in years past, and also I ran track and field in high school, but I haven't really done much running in my 20s other than, a mile or 2 jog here or there a couple times a week just as something to get cardio in. So that's really just my background on running. I had some coaching in high school, but for the past 10 years it's kind of just been me, jogging 9-minute miles, and that's about it every once in a while. And I just kind of flipped the switch. A buddy of mine was signed up for a marathon, and I had just done a half, so that kind of also pushed me. And I'm glad it did because, I trained for the first marathon. It was in April, and I ran it in 4:17. I did not expect to do that bad, I guess, but also, looking back, the most I ever ran before the marathon was 20 miles in a day. So I don't know how I really expected to do better. So that was kind of what I went off of. And then shortly after that, I would say a month after that, I ran my 50K. And I did that in under 5 hours. And my average pace was actually around like 9:20, I believe in that. It was a lot better than my marathon. And then I took, I think, maybe like a week off, and then I started training for my 50-miler, which was in September. So that gave me about 3 months. And for that one, I really focused on just getting in like 2 to 3 longer runs a week. I didn't really care about pace, and then I did a lot of like shorter, quicker runs, and I don't know why, but that helped me a lot on the 50-mile race as far as climbing, I think, and it gave me that stamina to when I was just running my 10 to 11-minute miles up and down the mountain. I was never really winded, that never crossed my mind in the whole 50 miles. It was more of when I got to mile 44, I was like, wow, this is rough. Still have 6 miles to go. And then most recently, I would say a month after that, so it was about 3 weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago, I did the Bay State Marathon in Lowell, Massachusetts, and I ran it in 3:14. And the drastic difference, over an hour difference, just from April to October. That's kind of why I've fell in love with running. That's why I fell in love with running this year, is because there's days where it really is the cheesy comment of or quote, I should say, of you get your best workouts in on the days you don't want to, or the days you feel the lousiest, and running's kind of sealed the deal on that for me. Every day I think I'm going to crush a run, it pretty much crushes me. I might do all right, or maybe hold that pace for a while, but then eventually fade. And the days where I'm like, wow, I'm tight and I don't feel good, I end up running further and faster than the pace and the mileage I wanted to that day. And I think that's what, just showing up and being consistent and then seeing results. I mean, the hour difference in a 6 month time is drastic. Obviously, now I'm not gonna, from 6 months from now, there's obviously no way I'm gonna be running a 2:15 marathon. I wish. But so now it's gonna be crunch time. It's gonna be smaller increment jumps and wins, which is fine because, I gotta put in the work to get better. But yeah, I really appreciate what running's done for me this year, and mentally. I call this podcast the We Run With It podcast for the reason of, all throughout my early 20s and mid 20s, I would say really my mid 20s is I started partying a little too much, or definitely not a little too much. I started partying too much, and I was running away from my problems. I would just drown them, alcohol, and when I started to get into running again, I realized that that was my coping mechanism. Now I was turning, one addiction per se into another. But between the weight room and running and having that strict, workout routine and showing up consistently for it every day and then seeing results, getting results, and also just a daily grind of miles 1 through 15. If you're doing a 15-mile run that day, you go through ups and downs through those 15 miles, and it allows you time to actually think and process while you're getting that workout in, and while you're getting that runner's high. You might be thinking, all your good thoughts, or when you're down low, you might be thinking like, wow, man, I really fucked that up. I shouldn't have done that. Like I could, I gotta make right of that. And whatever it is, not saying every run's this drastic in my mind, but overall, I'm grateful that I found running, and that's one of the biggest reasons. Is it's allowed me to look into myself while I'm moving, because I have the mindset of like, if I'm not doing something, then I'm not progressing, I'm not moving forward. So, which I'm working on, being all right with sitting still sometimes, I guess I should say, or being with myself. But I just kind of wanted to share that for anybody struggling, going through some things. It doesn't have to be obviously a marathon or a 15-mile run or a half marathon. It could be walking 2 or 3 miles a couple times a week to start, or a mile to start, wherever you're at. It's just getting out there and pushing yourself, because you'll see if you follow through with it. If you set a goal to, if you've never ran 5 miles in your life consecutively, you've only ran 1 mile before, that extra 4 feels like forever, but you'll get there quicker than you think. Whether you have to jog that 5 miles for 2 months before you can actually jog the whole thing, that's fine, or 6 months or a year. But it's the consistency of showing up and doing that and training for something, and then getting results eventually, getting knocked down, getting back up, maybe getting an injury, but, stretching through it. Or even when you get an injury, it teaches you more to how to recover, because you actually want to take the time to recover your body and heal so that you can run and that you can get back out there again. And that's also one thing that has taught me is I always get overuse injuries because I always go full into whatever I do. And I think what running's taught me this year is that as soon I know when I'm overdoing it, and I can feel it, so it allows me to take a step back and dial it down a little bit just temporarily, but also take care of things. Like I've been foam rolling a lot more, stretching out. I need to get into yoga, open the body up a little more, but I mean, taking care of doing prehab things that way, and rehabbing old injuries. That way your body's not constantly breaking down when you do start running those long runs. But anyways, that's my spiel. So I appreciate you guys listening. Again, we're going to get some good guests on here. I'm going to try, I'm not going to put a timeline on how often I'm going to post that first, but we'll I'll try and keep it going. So thank you again, and reach out if anybody has any questions, or if anybody wants to get a run in that's local in Massachusetts. I'm always down for that. And yeah, hit me up if you got any with your race results. Anybody going? I like to cheer people on, see everything. So again, get out and move, and that's from me and Axel. So peace out.